So this is our first new construction initiative in Montgomery County, Maryland. It is a fairly unique partnership between rental affordable units and affordable home ownership. So we'll be hearing from my colleague, Haley Norris, who is leading the development effort on the affordable apartment side, and from Sarah Redinger from Habitat for Humanity, our partner in bringing hard to find, deeply affordable home ownership opportunities that are going to allow Montgomery County residents to participate in that American dream of building wealth through equity and home ownership. So let me turn it over to Haley. And then if you have questions, please drop them into the chat and I'll figure out how to access them and try to ask them at the end. And if you are not currently on mute, I would appreciate you pushing that button as we dive into the presentation. Haley?
Thank you so much. I'm Haley Norris. I'm a Senior Development Manager here at AHC, and I am so happy to be here this evening to have this conversation about our new community at Randolph Road. In the summer of 2019, AHC and Habitat partnered on a response to an RFP for this Montgomery County-owned land, and we are here. You can see hopefully the image. We're at the intersection of Veers Mill and Randolph Roads in Silver Spring. So we were selected by the county in January of 2020, and in partnership together, we are redeveloping this 6-acre site with nearly 200 affordable homes. Those will be both rental and home ownership. So on the site, we'll have 168 affordable rental apartments across 6 buildings that you can see here. I'll try to use my mouse to kind of show them, but these range from kind of a typical 5-story, 84-unit multifamily building to these smaller scale buildings as well, including 4 12-unit apartment buildings that are in more of a garden style typology that meets the county's missing middle housing goals. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Habitat will be developing 27 homeownership units across 2 low-income condominium buildings and 3 single-family homes, and I'm excited to hear from Sarah on those later. The community will have a brand new 1/2-acre park that you can see here, which really forms the spine of the community. One of the beautiful things it's going to do is connect the existing neighborhood of single-family homeowners with our new residents who will move in and be a great place for the residents there to recreate. We are also seeking a partner to provide childcare on site, which will be another wonderful amenity for the future residents of Randolph Road. So we expect to break ground in early 2022, and about 2 years later, we'll be cutting the ribbon to welcome our new families home. Back to you, Alan.
Wonderful, just finding the unmute button there. Thank you. And Sarah, why don't we transition right over to you to talk about how the home ownership piece fits into this, and then we can engage in a discussion, take some questions.
Okay. Great, thanks, Ellen. Yeah, so my name is Sarah Redinger, and I'm the Vice President of Community Development with Habitat for Humanity Metro Maryland. And we've been working on affordable home ownership in Montgomery County for 40 years now. And as Alan mentioned, homeownership is critically important, right? Not just for the stability of families, but also the ability to build wealth. Homeownership is the biggest way that we do that in the United States. But in Montgomery County and across the nation, it's really challenging to access homeownership. So for some context, in Montgomery County last year, the average price of a single family detached home was $775,000. So really just completely unaccessible to so many lower income families, middle income families. It's really difficult to get into homeownership. And when you look at this from an equity lens, it's even more concerning, right? So again, in Montgomery County, about 75% of white households own their home, and only 43% of Black households own their home. So this is really concerning and something that we need to be very intentional in addressing and trying to rectify. And one of the issues with affordable home ownership is really just the cost, right? So when Habitat is rehabilitating a home or building a new home, we are subsidizing every unit by almost $150,000, sometimes more. So unless we find creative ways to drive down that cost, it's really difficult to provide more opportunities for families to access homeownership. And one of the reasons that I'm so excited about this partnership is because we're doing just that, right? So we're co-locating rentals, we're co-locating ownership. And by doing that, we're sharing the costs of development and construction for the homeownership units with 168 rental units. And that's really helping us build economies of scale and drive down our costs. So by doing that, we can serve more families, and we can also serve families at lower income levels. So we're actually providing 8 opportunities at 30% of area median income, 8 at 40%, 8 at 50%, and then the 3 single family homes on site will be available to families earning less than 70% of area median income. So really affordable homeownership opportunities.
Sarah, excuse me, could you put approximate incomes on those percentages so that folks can get an understanding of how deeply affordable these are?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about serving families with household incomes between, let's say, $30,000 a year up to around $80,000 a year, to kind of depending on their family size and their income level between 30 and 80%. That's roughly what we're looking at. But we're looking at deeply affordable homeownership opportunities. And I know a lot of folks, when they talk about affordable condos, which some of these multiplexes are, get concerned about condo association fees, but that's the other really neat thing about co-locating with rental, because we can share kind of the property management costs across the rental units and the ownership units and try and drive down those condo costs. So we're really hoping that this is a demonstration project on how to do affordable home ownership in a successful way, in a more affordable way. And the last thing that I'll mention that I think is really neat about this project is that the 3 single family homes that you see on the site are all going to be universal design. And I've actually got one behind me in the photo, but these are houses that are, built to accommodate families at all stages of life and of all abilities. So there's no steps anywhere, including the entrance, wider hallways, wider doorways, larger bathrooms with a walk-in shower and also a tub. So really the goal is to accommodate family members of all abilities and at all stages of life, like I mentioned. Back to you, Alan.
Thank you. We're pretty well coordinated on these presentations. The handoffs are going pretty well here. Thank you. Thank you. Haley, this is a $60+ million project, and we are charging rents that range from the $700-800 level to the $1,200, maybe $1,300 level for households, as Sarah said, earning as little as $35,000 and no more than about $70,000. Could you talk about some of the major subsidies that will go into the deal to make this work?
Yes, absolutely. And those rent ranges are correct. The lowest, a 30% 1-bedroom apartment is going to be about $725 a month, less if you factor in utility allowance. So that is really, really deeply affordable. So some of that, we have a number of mission-oriented sources that will be going into this community that will help make this possible, including the 4% low-income housing tax credit. We're going to be working through with the state of Maryland to reserve an allocation of that tax credit that's non-competitive. So that is a certain source for this development. A huge piece of the puzzle for us is coming from Montgomery County. They have committed a $14 million loan from their housing initiative fund to this development to make sure that this is financially feasible at these really deep affordability levels. So we're really appreciative of their partnership in making this development happen.
Thank you. The other attractive things about this proposal that's now reality is it's going to address sort of the 4 fundamental challenges of being a lower income family in a high cost area. The housing itself, access to transit, access to childcare, and potentially we're working on seeing if we can partner to find access to healthcare. So we're trying to be a comprehensive solution in a way that is rarely able to be implemented. And again, the key to this, as Haley was explaining, is that the county, per its sector plan, for those of you that play in the zoning or the politics space, was designed such that this site was intended to be developed along the lines, not necessarily of the buildings we're looking at in the specific picture here, but to further affordable housing by designating the site accordingly. Haley, could you talk a little bit about the transit options that make this such an attractive location, sort of where it is in the general community?
Yeah, certainly. Actually, I'll go back to that last one for it. So these roads are actually all some of the most traveled bus corridors in Montgomery County. These are very regularly served by both WMATA and county buses. One thing that is upcoming in the near future and will be a really great opportunity for residents is that there's going to be a bus rapid transit stop right at this intersection of Veers Mill and Randolph Road. So that's going to be an even higher quality of transportation, because this is not right on a metro station, but that's going to offer a really convenient, accessible mode of transportation for households. And if I could, one thing I didn't address yet, but I would love to make sure we get out there this evening is one thing that's really unique about this development is the family-sized units here. I didn't touch on this in my initial remarks, but I did want to note that of the nearly 200 apartments and homeownership units we're offering on the site, we're going to have 73 bedroom between apartments and condominiums and 14 4 bedrooms. So that's a total of 85 apartments or homeownership units out of almost 200 that are going to be serving large families, which is really unusual. I don't think, I certainly can't think of another community that's offering that level of family-sized units, particularly at these deep affordability levels. So we're so excited to be welcoming those neighbors in Montgomery County into this community.
Haley, we may very well be doubling the number of units of those size and depth of affordability in the county. And now that we are approved by Park and Planning, we're working closely with their staff to analyze exactly what is being accomplished here relative to the county's housing goals. Sarah, I thought maybe you could use our last minute, give a nice pitch for people participating in a build day.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the fun things about Habitat is that we have the community participate in our building. So the 3 single family homes will be built by our construction managers and mostly by volunteers from the community. So if anyone is interested in coming out and swinging a hammer or installing insulation or whatever it is that we're doing that day, we would absolutely love to have you. And you can find information on our website.
Fantastic. Any other questions? Oh, here we go. Could we talk about the involvement of the local communities and schools and the exchange, the interaction that we had with them in the course of getting approval for the process? And Haley, can I kick that your way?
Yeah, sure. So as part of our site plan process, we were approved by the planning board this spring. I believe it was in May. And leading up to that approval, we did present to the community. We made sure we invited all of the neighbors, all the adjacent community, all of the civic associations were invited to that to have an opportunity to ask questions, to share any feedback. And there was, at all times, of course, the community is welcome to reach out to us and to staff. So that was, there's our 1 minute warning, it looks like. So they were engaged early on in the process. I guess I would also add that, as Alan alluded to, the site was rezoned actually prior to the RFP process. So there was a lengthy public involvement process even before we stepped in when the county rezoned this site to permit, affordable multifamily mixed use, mixed income communities. So that was a huge opportunity for engagement that the neighbors could participate in then.
And I'm